Tax trap number 6. This is something I have talked about on the podcast a couple times. And the example I'd like to use relates to small businesses and failure to plan for a succession plan, or, after death carrying on of the small business or any of that stuff. Let's say the economy is down, right? And the business is in arrears on a couple things, right? And so the P&L, the profit and liabilities, are kind of opposite for now. But then the owner dies. All right, worst case scenario. And there's no plan for the business. Well, that's an asset of that person's estate. And it may be that because of all these liabilities, right, the claims that are due to these people, that there's a sale that gets forced to liquidate the business. Well, that kind of thing can really trigger some real gains that you weren't anticipating, tax bills, in other words, and take a big chunk out of the estate when you're not expecting that. So if there's no what they call liquidity, sometimes selling assets feels like the only thing you can do, including like a small business. If you plan, you can plan to avoid that. It always comes back to planning, doesn't it? So another thing you can do, just I have a note here, is sometimes people will have life insurance policies. So that's cash, or it can constitute, in other words, a liquid reserve. When you die, there's $100,000 there that you designate to cover some of the expenses of the estate. Well, if there was $100,000 in liabilities that were owed on the business, that might help avoid a forced sale, right? So tax trap number 7, unintended gift tax issues. Remember, I talked about this before. Gifting is not the same as inheriting. Sometimes they're used in the same sentence, and sometimes they're used as estate planning strategies. If you've got a lot of money, you can gift money up to, I think it's $15 million total. If you want to reduce the value of your estate eventually, right? But either way, a gift is not an inheritance. So let's say a parent helps child buy a house, right? Houses are expensive here in Chattanooga. Let's say they couldn't get financing on their own because they've gotten so pricey. So parent gives child $300,000. Ooh, it's a gift, right? It falls under the 15 million. Yeah, but technically, that should be reported as a gift, and it isn't. So then it complicates estate administration later on, and the estate is taxed, has a tax liability. So it's not an inheritance. Just keep that in mind. Gift is not an inheritance. But gifting strategies, when done appropriately, can be helpful.